Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Julian. My channel El Fuliman, pronounced like that in Spanish. All of my content is made in Spanish for Spanish speakers, for Latin American people and people from Spain. Today's information is gonna have to be in English, not just because the person I'm gonna talk with is a native English speaker, but also because you will have to know how to answer questions, maybe gather information, fill a form, just in case. But the most important, you will have to know how to pitch your idea, your project, or your startup in English. With that being said, welcome to a new video. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Sorry that I'm driving right now. I just came up from work. I'm heading to Launch Academy, the incubator we are visiting today. It has to be this way as I would like to take advantage of this natural light until sunset to know the place, talk with Sam, and maybe see the office, the location. In past videos, I share with you guys the story of David. David is a Colombian guy with a startup, with a project, with his own company that made it here to Canada with a startup visa. This is a type of visa made for entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter what location or what country are you from, doesn't matter the type of idea, doesn't matter, most of things doesn't matter. You just have to have your idea and your startup develop on your mind even. Hey, by the way, this is my first video in English. Don't be so rude with me. I'm learning as you. Okay guys, so here we are arriving to Launch Academy. This is Jailtown in downtown Vancouver. And this is how it looks like. Nice neighborhood, huh? A lot of beer spots, restaurants, really fancy. Okay, so before starting, I got my t-shirt from, whoa, where is it? Launch. Get this done. I'm gonna use it for the video. Okay guys, so we arrived here to Launch Academy. I would like to introduce to you here Sam. Hey. He's the VP here at Launch. But first we're gonna make a quick tour here at the office to know some of the things they have here for all the companies or people coming through their program.
Let's go. So first stop here, we have our media room.
Yeah.
This is where all the magic happens because a lot of our programming these days is virtual. How we talk to our companies, they're all over the world. A lot of the filming, the recordings, the webinars, a lot of the podcast action also happens all in this room. And you know, there's all the lights and the mess behind the scene that people don't see.
Always, that happened always.
From there, we have, this is where our team works. So all the desks kind of move up and down. Some people like to stand. I like to sit because I'm a very lazy person. But all our teams work with all our companies through here. There's just another mini office, and there's mostly tables and chairs.
This is like a meeting room.
This is a meeting room. Sometimes we have meetings on the couches as well. Fairly flexible, casual work environment. A mural done by one of our members, or one of our alumni, I guess. David's wife, actually, Maria, very talented artist, kind of created this mural for us. So you can check that out. And we have our CEO, Ray. He's over here.
Hi, Ray.
How's it going?
He doesn't get a mural. He gets a boring wall.
I'm not special.
But yeah, let's go over, check out the other side where the members go. Before we get to where the members work, this is a really important spot. This is where we get all our fuel.
Yeah.
Right? We got coffee, we got tea, we got beer. Am I allowed to say beer? I guess so.
Yeah. Why not? This is YouTube.
That's right. And these are all where all the members work. So when a company arrives in Canada for the first time, they get to work with us for a little bit, for a couple of months. So we want to make sure we're their first office spot. It's not meant to be permanent, but while they're here, they get to meet other entrepreneurs, other founders, things like that. And this is still a work in progress, but we kind of want to highlight all the different places that our companies originally are from.
Okay.
And this was also painted by Maria as well.
Maria.
So let's make sure we link her Instagram in the
sure.
below.
Let's see what she put here in Colombia.
Is that a special bird? Or
yeah, of course. It is.
And then over here, we kind of have like a more relaxing lounge, more for when companies are done working. We have a raised video game collection, has all the Xboxes, a couple PlayStations, a lot of very old Nintendo stuff too. How many of the people know what this controller is?
I know it.
This isn't the retro one. This is like the original 1984 Dust. And we have the cartridges Contra here.
Wow,
Like,
that's a good one.
Do people know that move?
Yeah. Do you know the one putting the PlayStation upside down?
Yes.
So the game goes in.
So the game goes in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of retro gaming things that we got going on here. So this is more when companies want to relax and things like that. Right now we're filming at the end of the day, so they've all
So
gone
that's
home.
why, yeah.
But this is Yaletown, which we kind of saw outside a little bit already.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good view.
And I would like to highlight that this is a pet-friendly place. Hey, Guppy.
Guppy, come here. Yeah, so we're dog friendly because sometimes being an entrepreneur can be very lonely.
Yeah.
So pets kind of helps, liven up the place.
Okay, Sam. So I would like to introduce yourself. Talk about who are you, what do you do here at Launch, and maybe a brief thing about Launch itself.
Okay. Sure. So hi everybody, my name is Sam. I'm the VP of Programs here at Launch Academy. Launch Academy's been around since 2012. We've been supporting entrepreneurs, different startups for the last 10 years. Over that time, we've helped over 3,000 entrepreneurs in over 40 countries now. Our main system is we want to create a community of support for founders. Sometimes when you're creating your own thing, when you're building a business for the first time, the road can be very lonely. There's a lot of different things that you need to learn. And our idea is that as a collective, it's a lot better to learn from others without experiencing everything the hard way.
You said you help entrepreneurs, companies, founders. Is all of this about a startup visa, or it can be out of that side of the program?
No, so we will help startups. Usually they're in a little bit of more of what we call early stage. So anything from just an idea to like they could be exiting the company as well. And we have a network of different entrepreneurs who are here to kind of support our members, as well as we create a lot of different activities so that the members themselves, the founders, can help each other. For example, like our good friend David, he's a great developer. He can help a non-technical founder with some things, but maybe there's other things that other people are good at, maybe a lot of sales or things like that he might need help with, and so they can help each other.
Okay, but my question is, you're trying to get people in Canada too, or from all the world?
Yeah, so we have members from all over the world. We have different programs supporting those types of members. One of them is Maple, that works with international founders, and the goal of people who are going through Maple is they want to bring their business to Canada.
Okay, that's the main idea. That's what David is making right now.
That is the program that David took, and he's well on his journey here.
Okay, so let's take advantage. We are in this point. What kind of programs you're talking about here in Launch?
We have 3 programs for people that are just learning to how to build a startup for the first time. Doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. We have a really easy online course that you could take. We'll make sure you give you a discount code if anybody listening wants to give it a try and they just want to try the material for the first time.
Okay, you can find that for sure here in the description.
We'll make sure we give you guys lots of love, and so you can get started. And if you get through all the materials during the trial, perfect.
Awesome, thank you.
So if you're just learning, you can take that course. We also have a different program called Launchpad, which is for members that want day-to-day, week-to-week support. They'll get to meet other founders in the community. They'll get to connect with cool companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Google and all those types. And they'll also get to meet other entrepreneurs who are a little bit ahead of them. Maybe they've raised some money, maybe they've been acquired. And so you'll get to learn a lot from the different week-to-week pieces of programming that we do. The last program that we work with is called Maple, and Maple specifically is working with foreign entrepreneurs. So that's entrepreneurs that are currently outside Canada, and we want to help bring them to Canada so they can expand and grow their business internationally. And so it's designed specifically for those that are not in Canada, which is different than the other programs that I just mentioned. And we will work with them through the entire process, working with them through getting their visas, we will work with them through when they land in Canada and they need to find a place to live, or they want to connect with great people like Julian. We want to make sure that we were there the entire journey, and that's like a 2 to 3 year program.
Okay, so that last program is the one I want to dig in to talk more about. But first, let's change our spot.
Sure. Right? Like, cause like that's how, dude. He's a pro now. Like he can throw it into my hand.
We were talking about that last program you said, Maple is the name. I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing it
Maple, yeah.
well. Okay. So Maple program is designed for those people who want to bring their company here to Canada.
Yes.
How it works? How is the process? Which are the steps for this program?
Yeah, so we partnered with a government immigration program, which I think in David's video he talked about a lot. It's called Startup Visa, and personally I think Startup Visa is a very magical immigration path. I'm not an immigration expert, but
Yeah.
my parents were immigrants themselves, and when they came to Canada, they had a very different path than people going through Startup Visa. Like yourselves, they have to maybe change their careers, change their dreams a lot before they're able to come to this country and eventually get PR. With Startup Visa, they're focused on helping founders, but the founders can continue to build their business here in Canada without having to change whatever it is they were doing before. The major goal of it is you have to be building a startup, something that's a business that they consider innovative, and then you have to be willing to move that business and of course the founders themselves to Canada. And so that's what we work with primarily through the Maple program. Of course, as an immigration route, that sounds very nice,
Yeah.
but there's actually a lot of things that you need in a very practical sense to make that happen. And for us at launch, we're really well positioned because we've had 10 years of experience helping companies, building a network of people dedicated to helping startups, right? So when a company comes from, say, Colombia to Canada, they're not starting over from zero. They're able to use our network, to use our connections, to use our strength of other founders from all over the world, so that they can start running.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not starting from zero. Maybe at first they didn't know anybody in Canada, but automatically when you enter the Maple program, you will already know 500 people.
That's very important if you want to continue with your project, and also in a new country,
Exactly.
and also in completely different language. So I want to ask, of course you're not an immigration officer or nothing like that, but do you know maybe if this program is limited, or maybe a couple persons per year can apply, or if it's worldwide or just some countries, how it works?
Yeah, so from the Startup Visa perspective, they're looking for a couple of things. One, like I mentioned before, you have to have an innovative business that you're willing to move to Canada. The people that are applying need to be what we call shareholders of the company. And together, if it was you and me that were applying, together we need to own what's called the majority of the company. So at least 51%.
Okay.
Okay. On top of that, they need to bring some money in to settle. So they have something called the proof of funds. Depending on how many people are in the application, the number does change. I believe it starts with around $15,000 Canadian for one person. You can look in the link with the government regulations. These do change year to year as well, so that's why I'm not giving an exact number. But you do need some money that you need to put aside as they're processing.
But this is just a proof of funds.
This is just a proof of
We are
funds.
going to use this money for something, or
No, so you want to put that aside
Yeah.
while your permanent residence
Uh-huh.
application is being processed, and you want to just keep that there.
So just for you guys to know, this is how it works in every immigration path, at least here in Canada. We always have to show some proof of funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're budgeting, you want to make sure you budget for that, but the concern shouldn't be too big because it's not money that you're spending, right? Other than that, with the Startup Visa, it has two really interesting components. One is that it's promising to give you and any applying co-founders, this is up to 5 co-founders, can apply for the Startup Visa. But when they apply, their spouses as well as their children, so what they design as immediate family, will also get permanent residence.
Okay.
So if you had 5 founders with 5 spouses and each of them had 2 children, we could be looking at like 20 something PRs in one application.
Okay.
So that's what's really powerful about it, is because it's able to support entire families.
Yeah. Entire company.
Entire company.
Yeah. And what we get with this in startup visa? Do we get a work permit? Do we get the PR? What we get with this?
Yeah. So it has 2 components. One is a work permit component, and ideally that's meant to be faster than obviously getting your PR and getting your process. And so the idea is that while you're waiting for your PR, you can get a faster work permit that lasts for 1 year at a time. And you're able to enter Canada immediately and be able to legally work on your company. If it takes longer than a year for your PR to be processed, you can renew that work permit as well.
Awesome. That's good information for you guys. We are here in the media room where I'm going to talk someday in your podcast or something like that. I will let the link in the description so you can follow their podcast. They are really interesting because they are always interviewing the entrepreneurs that are working with you guys here, and also with other companies and stuff. So follow them and listen to them. I will be there someday.
Soon.
Okay, so let's imagine I'm the entrepreneur. I want to bring my company here to Canada. What do I have to do? I contact you through your website, through your mail, and what are the steps?
Yeah, so we already kind of talked about the requirements for the government program. For us, what we do at Launch Academy is we're very specifically what we call a nonprofit. And so what that means is we have a very different model than other accelerators or incubators. Usually, traditionally, and to go into business school speak a little bit, accelerators and incubators, the traditional model of making money is they invest in the companies and the company becomes Facebook or Google or whatever, and then their return is mucho.
Yeah.
But for us, because we're a nonprofit and we're designed to help companies, what we do is we do take a program fee for joining specifically the Maple program. What those proceeds, what that money does is it doesn't just go back into our pockets. We reinvest that money back into the community here at Launch. So we will run events specifically for founders. We will run events specifically for Vancouver and beyond, for our members, our alumni, and people in the ecosystem at large. So that's really how we function as an entity. So to answer your question, a Maple program is a paid program. And I can definitely leave the link for if you're interested in how the payments work, how each, and it's not all at once, it's through different phases of the program. But I think that's the first barrier to entry for a lot of people is some people, perhaps they are looking for investment. There are actually other groups that will invest in foreign companies and will help support your company as well. So I don't want to make it seem like if you don't currently have enough cash flow that startup visa is completely out of your realm. It's not the system that Launch works with. So I want to make that very clear. And if you have questions about that, even if it's not about Launch, happy to shoot me a message on Twitter or something like that. I'll help the best I can.
Okay.
But for us, we will specifically want to work with companies that are looking to grow and expand in Canada. So the first question we will always ask anybody that's applying, and you can apply for free, absolutely. So if you think not sure if you're a fit, I always recommend people, hey, just put in an application and see what happens, right? And as much as we can, we go through every single application manually. Our team works very hard at making sure we're reading as much as we can to decide if there's a fit. But the first question we will always ask each applicant is, why do they want to come to Canada? So what we're looking for is there a specific business reason or a goal that they're wanting to achieve that maybe they can't in their home country? And for that reason, they need to be situated in Canada. And specifically, this needs to be a business reason because we're a business incubator.
Yeah.
Right. We're like I mentioned before, we're not purely here for immigration purposes. We're here to see businesses grow and expand. So that's really important to us. The next thing is it needs to be a technical startup. So there's very specific sectors of companies that we work with. So this can be anything from a blockchain company to maybe VR, AR to video games, who you and I are big fans of. Could be software, could be hardware. There's all sorts of different sections. There is a full list on our website, but what we call this emerging technology.
Okay.
So it does need to be something in that sector. If you, for example, sell library books or sell used library books, that's a great business. It's just not exactly something that we can support you doing. So that's the second thing. The third thing we look at is we look at the entrepreneurs and the applicants themselves. Are they well experienced in building businesses? Do they have what we call a proof of record of maybe in the past they worked for IBM or Amazon or something like that? In our friend David's case, he had a good experience working at Google and Facebook and those kind of things. So that gives us confidence that, hey, he wants to build this very ambitious project. He actually has the skills and experience to go and build that. So that's really important. That's not to say that if you're not a coder, if you're not technical, we will still look at your application for perhaps you were a senior marketer at IBM in Brazil or something like that. And you have proven that you have an understanding of the market that you're doing your business in. At least in your home country. If you don't understand the Canadian market yet, that's fine, because that's what we're here to help you with.
How do you access this information? If I apply, I got an interview, or what kind of documents I have to submit?
The first two steps is there is an online application that's free to enter. You'll need to include a pitch deck. Usually this is a PowerPoint, but it can be Google Slides or whatever, as long as we can see it. And that has a lot of the information that I kind of just explained, right? So it talks about who's involved in the project, what does your business do, how is your business doing, is it very successful, does it make lots of revenue, is it still brand new? All that information is accessed. From there, our team does need to take some time to review that application. And the next step is we will then set up a call with you. If we find that there's enough there that we want to further discuss, my team and I will set up a call with you so that you can understand a little bit more about us, but we can also understand a little bit more about you. So during this time, it's about an hour long. Usually there's going to be lots of questions because this is a very serious decision. It's not something you didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to move to Canada, right? You want to ask lots of questions. And if there's one thing that you can take away from our chat here is to ask lots of questions, right? And even ask the same question to multiple people. If there's confirmation from multiple places, it's probably more accurate, right? Don't even take just my word for it. Go ask other people too, right? Because when you're dealing with foreign situations, doesn't matter if you're talking to a lawyer or a business incubator or whatever, there's a lot of misinformation. So what you want to do is, we call it in English due diligence, but basically it means, it's a fancy way of saying do your research. Right?
Like, as always for everything.
Exactly.
You have to do your own research and get your own idea. You have to build your own concept about something. All right, so we got the interview with you guys, and all of this is to get a letter of support to apply for the visa.
Yes.
Am I right?
Sort of, because with how our program works, we want to work with the companies for a little bit before we issue the letter of support. We want to make sure the companies are structured correctly so that in their home country, their business is still going to be going, it's still flowing, it still does well. And their new business here in Canada, it's also set up properly so that when you come to Canada and you meet our network, perhaps you can get some government grants, perhaps you want to get investment. You're set up properly to succeed in the long run. So once all that is set up in what we call phase 1 and phase 2 of the program, that's when we issue you the letter of support to apply for your work permits and your startup visas. But back to the application process a little bit. After we interview with you, we actually ask for a video as well. So it's very quick. It's a 3-minute video, kind of just introducing yourself. This is my company. This is why I want to come to Canada. And with our network that I've talked so much about, we actually have support from people like a David who will review your applications and say, hey, is this somebody that I want in my community? Is this somebody that I want in Canada? And so unlike other places, our technology community actually gets a say in who becomes part of the community.
That's good.
And these are people that don't work for Launch Academy, so they're not financially motivated or anything like that to accept anyone. But this is an extra step that we go through to make sure that, if people that are in Maple, this is a very prestigious thing, and that's something that we don't take lightly.
This phase 1 and phase 2 is from our country.
Yes.
So it's like, I was talking with David, It is like a course you take where you learn how to build a company here in Canada, how does it work, payroll and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's phase 3?
Phase 3 is what we call transition. So this is what's exciting for most people, because at the end of phase 2, the founders will apply for a work permit using their startup visa support certificate that we issue. In phase 3, we start the transition, right? One of the first things that we do is we will work with their lawyers at that time to start the PR application process as well. But we are also working alongside them to make sure they're set up for their move, right? So a lot of people think, oh, my permit is approved, tomorrow I'm gonna go to Canada. Reality doesn't work that way, right? You might have rent, you might have you might have staff that you need to take care of. You might have kids that are in school. So we wanna work with you to build a plan that is the best case scenario for you and your family, right? And so during this transition period, which could be up to a year for some people, depending on how long the work permit processing takes and how long your plan takes, we want to make sure that we're doing the steps in the right order, right? Some people, for example, that have kids want to wait until summer to come to Canada, because that way in September, which is when the school season starts, their kids can start a new year fresh, right? Instead of entering in the middle of a year or something like that. Other people, if they're coming from a warm climate, they don't want to come in January because they don't want to get adjusted to the cold so fast. So of course these are more minor reasons, but these are things that some people do consider. So we want to work with them through that process to bring them to Canada. And in phase 3, depending on how many months it takes, that's when they would enter Canada. When you enter Canada, there's a lot of different things, and hopefully in some of the videos you talk about housing or rentals and things like that. In Vancouver specifically, a lot of cities will have what's called a foreign buyer tax. So if you're hoping to move to Canada immediately and buy a house, for a lot of people that's not plausible yet, right? So a lot of times what happens is when people initially arrive, they'll live in an Airbnb or in some cases a hotel, depending on where they are, for 1 week, 2 weeks. And then they want to get their medical services plan, their healthcare set up. They want to get their driver's license or their ID, right? They want to get a bank account set up. And so again, we've built out this process that gives you a checklist of things you need to do when you arrive in Canada. A lot of these are not business related, but if you don't have a bank account, how are you going to do a business? Yeah. Right? So we will connect you with different people to make sure those things happen. And that transitions you all the way to phase 4 of the program, where as we see, that's where you would work out of our offices for 3 months. And so during that time, that's hopefully when your kids are in school, you have a safe place to live that's warm at night or is cool during the day, and you're focused on expanding your business.
So we are in phase 4, that it's working here 3 months.
Yes.
Get to know the people, make the network that is really worth it. Is there a phase 5?
Yes, so there is a phase 5. So after the 3 months, if, for example, the companies need a new office, we will connect them with other people so that they can get their own office. A lot of cases these days in a post-COVID era, people decide to work from home with their small teams, work virtually. That's totally fine. That being said, one of the things we keep going back to is that being a founder by default is very lonely. Right? A lot of times you're working by yourselves. Maybe you have a small team and things like that, but a lot of decisions are just in your own head. What we want to make sure we're doing, especially because you're now in a new country, is we're continuing to support you as a founder. So for the next year during phase 5, you stay connected to our ecosystem of companies. You can join in every week on our sessions and continue to meet people. Every month we have something called Launch Offline. And during Launch Offline, we have barbecues, we have photo shoots, we have Thanksgiving dinners. We'll do different fun activities to make sure that the founders still feel good and that they don't feel like I'm in a new place, I'm completely by myself and I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. And that's the last one.
That's the last one.
That's the last. So the complete process from phase 1 to phase 5, it's about
it's anywhere from, if you're really, really fast, you could probably complete it in 18 months. That's very, very fast. Most people will lean closer to about 2 years.
Okay. So with that being said, this shows that also the speed of the process depends on the person.
It depends on the person and it depends on the government a little bit, right? Because the hope is that sometime during the phase 5 part in the next year, you're receiving your permanent residence.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Also, David has COVID in his
Yeah.
way. Okay, now that we know the each different phase, how does the payments work? You said it's
Yeah.
not all at once.
It's not all at once. So the totality of the program is $40,000 Canadian for us, and so each part of each phase there are different payments set up. So in phase 1, there's one payment of $5,000. In phase 2, it's another $5,000. Phase 3, because that's a longer period, it's 2 payments of $5,000. During phase 4, during the 3 months you're here, that's much more intensive. There's 3 more payments there of $5,000 each. And then the final one, the year-long phase 5, is another $5,000. I said the word 5,000 a lot, but essentially it's seven payments of $5,000. During that time, I think something to be made aware of is there's going to be usually other costs, and I don't want to make sure that everybody's aware of the total cost. You will need to hire an immigration lawyer. We do have in-house teams that we work specifically with that are able to give better rates for you, but that is a cost that for most people they cannot avoid it unless they were an immigration lawyer themselves. And the main reason to this is because the startup visa is a fairly unique process.
Yeah.
It's not something that is normal because we're only working with a very small niche of types of people. Another cost will be when you bring your company to Canada, there's incorporation costs. So that cost can be anywhere between $1,500 to it could be much more depending on how complicated the situation is. So that's another cost. Another big cost for you to consider is tax considerations. For example, if your business is doing $1 million in Colombia and you're paying, I don't know how taxes work in Colombia, but let's pretend you're paying X dollars to tax. How do you make sure that you're arranging a way when you have this new business that it's what we call optimized, right? Like you don't want to pay more tax than you want to, but to figure that system out, that may cost you something, right? So it depends on how complicated it can get, but I just want to make sure these costs you're aware.
Yeah.
In my experience with most companies that are coming to Canada, they don't just get the work permit, come to Canada and stay here. A lot of them, what they will end up doing is they'll come to Canada maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, go back to their home country, and then maybe they bring their kids over, their spouses over, things like that. So I just want to make sure, like, especially with inflation and things like that, you're keeping into account, like, prepare for multiple trips, right?
Yeah.
So those are costs that, when we, depending on where you're from, could end up being thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Usually my recommendation, including the proof of funds for each company, and this is an overestimation, is I would prepare $100,000 for our program as well as everything else.
Everything.
I know it sounds like a lot of money, but I think mentally you guys have to start somewhere. Whether you have only $5 today or $10 today, it's something that you want to work towards if this is something that you want to dream of in the future.
Last but not least, what would you suggest to that person that has an idea, a project, but is not specifically related to tech?
Yeah.
Where they can find more information, maybe other incubators, about it.
Yeah, so for immigration purposes, like there are other entrepreneurial programs. I'm not too familiar with them myself. The government of Canada is probably your best bet. Probably subscribe to this guy's YouTube channel because he's probably going to find out about it, right? But there are different options for you. I think with the major thing is the startup visa. Because startups move so fast, they don't have a determinate amount of money that you need to put in the money. With other entrepreneurial routes, you might need to prove that you're already doing $200,000 in revenue or $300,000 or something like that. So it's a bit more restrictive to what it is. But in those scenarios, like those might be a better format for you. If you're a working individual, express entry might be good for you. I don't know if that's something that you came through on. But like a lot of people will start with study permits and then move into PR that way as well. I think that's a great option depending on where you're at in life.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's the way I'm taking. So that was Sam here at Launch Academy. I will let you guys all the information here in the description, and thank you for having us here.
No problem. Pleasure to be here, and good luck, everyone.
Good luck. See you here